Tara Knowles could truly thrive in the chaotic biker world of Sons of Anarchy, whether she believes it or not. This video is inspired by Season 2, Episode 2, Small Tears. Even after what had happened with Agent Cone, Tara spends most of Season 1 and the beginning of Season 2 truly questioning her own ability to be with Jax. She clearly wants him, but she questions whether or not she can be a part of his outlaw lifestyle. She's a professional after all, a doctor, a surgeon. She spends her days devoted to saving children's lives. How can she do that while also being an accomplice to murder? A clubhouse surgeon who's spending her evenings and, let's call them the overnight hours, stitching up bullet wounds. It's a fair question, and not just one of her character. But in general, how can any human being exist in that life? Who could possibly be cut out for that? We see in this episode that the answer is Tara. She's the unsung hero of this episode, handling everything that she's navigating with just a surprising calm and grace. And she shows her aptitude for this life through multiple layers, and those layers are what we're going to explore in this video. Let's start with the big one. Of course, it's Gemma. When Unser wants to take Gemma to the hospital, she decides to call Tara instead. These two haven't been close at all in Season 1. Quite the opposite, actually. They had clear tension and friction from the word go in this show. And while you could say that in the previous episode, the premiere of Season 2, Gemma's advice about full disclosure was a bit of a thawing of the ice between these two, but they were far from kumbaya. But Gemma trusts Tara enough to pull her away from Jax's side to come help her discreetly. Tara not only obliges this request, but she's also strong enough with Gemma to not let her steamroll her. A lesser character wouldn't have been able to get Gemma to go to the hospital at all, let alone treat her without being discovered by anyone. The way she thinks on her feet and navigates the idea of using Abel as a way to get into the hospital with Gemma, using that as a cover so that nobody knows why they're actually there. She gives direction to the nanny in a clear, calming manner without actually saying anything. It shows that she can handle herself and take control in a situation when that situation is desperate and very high stressed, and not the type that they train you for in medical school. This is different. And not only this, but despite their history, when Gemma confides this in her trauma, Gemma truly trusts her to keep the secret. From Jax, from Clay, from Hale, from everyone. And Tara does. Not only does she keep the secret, but she becomes a lifeline for Gemma, a support system, a friend. And she's there for her all the way through the end of the season when Gemma finally has to sit Jax and Clay down and tell them what happened. And when she has to get closure. This idea of trust is a huge part of the MC culture that she's becoming a part of. Outlaw life in this world as it's set is built on trust. If you can't trust the person next to you when you're doing the things that they're doing, they can't be next to you. Because at any moment, they could be in front of a cop, a judge, a jury, and you need to be able to trust that they're going to keep the secret, no matter what. And if Gemma trusts you, you've earned it. And part of that trust is keeping Gemma's secret from her son, who Tara is obviously dating, Jax, and also from Gemma's husband, Clay, which is the second layer. When Gemma's not ready to see Clay at the hospital yet, Tara doesn't have to, but she steps in immediately. She takes charge of the situation in her own way and is strong and confident enough with Clay to keep him at bay. Clay doesn't listen to anyone. If she doesn't have that confidence, if she doesn't have that strength, if she doesn't have that control over the situation, he's blowing right through her to get to his wife. But she's able to keep him away. And that's no small feat, at all. Over the course of one episode, she has managed to, again, in her own way, through this calming nature and this sense of control and confidence, she's been able to take charge over the two most headstrong characters in this TV show. Two characters who don't relinquish control to anyone. Gemma and Clay always have the upper hand in every situation that they're in, or they find a way to get it. And Tara handles them both through, quite frankly, the most traumatic situation that is imaginable. And of course, then there's the final layer to this, and that's the one we kind of mentioned earlier, stitching up the bullet holes. At the end of the episode, she jumps right into action to take care of Bobby's wounds. Like, it's no big deal at this point. From taking the phone call, in which she doesn't flinch, jumps right into action, she makes sure that Abel is cared for, and she gets straight to the clubhouse. And she's not fazed while she's working on Bobby. She's not fazed by anything. She's even still present enough cognitively in her given situation to notice what Gemma is doing and to take note of Gemma's mental state as she sees her walking down the hallway. Tara is compartmentalizing everything that she's been through, everything that she's dealing with, all in this one moment, keeping everything in its place where it needs to be so that all these thoughts aren't just swirling in her head like they would be, a normal human beings. She just keeps herself in the moment and focused on what she needs to do. And she does it really well. She is proving that she could not only handle it, but she could thrive in this life. And maybe she would have if certain things had gone just a little bit differently along the way. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. What do you think of Tara in this episode in particular? Did she prove that she's truly cut out to be with the man in the cut? Or was she out of her depth from the start? Thanks for watching, and I hope that you'll join me on this binge of Sons of Anarchy, which you can do by liking the video and clicking here.